In this presentation, we will create sales graphs from some common reports that we will generate from accounting software and then export to Excel, where we will create the graphs in Excel. Time to engage with Sage 50 Cloud Accounting. Here we are in our Bellwether Garden Supply demo file. We're going to go up top to our reports and forms. We're going to pick up our sales report that we can then export to Excel. So we're going to be in the accounts receivable report. So we're in the accounts receivable reports. Once you open up any report, you'll go into this window, into one of these tabs at the left. Then make sure you're up top in the accounts receivable. We're going to open up a report that we have seen in the past. That's going to be a customer sales history report. We're going to take this data, we're going to export this information to Excel, and then generate some graphs from it. So I'm going to open up this report. Now note that you might be working with like some other software, like a QuickBooks Desktop has a few different graphs that you can make from the accounting software. However, the functionality and the flexibility of it is not that good within the database program oftentimes. It's a lot more flexible if you take the data and put it into Excel. So that's what we'll do here. We'll just give a quick example of how we could take this information, put it into Excel, add it to basically our Excel worksheet that we can then print along with our other documentation. So I'm going to take this information, I'm going to export it to Excel. We already have it there, but I'm going to export it again just to start from scratch with the data file that we would then export to Excel. I'm going to put it into the worksheet that we've been working with. If you haven't been working with it and you want to start a new Excel sheet, you can make a new Excel sheet with the first one, but I'm going to put it into the same workbook. And then I'm going to go ahead and say OK, and it's going to open up that workbook once again. It's going to export our data. It's going to make a new worksheet and put this data in the new worksheet. So here we have it. I'm going to maximize the screen now. So there we have our information. So we got the customer sales history. Now I'm going to call this basically the customer sales data, because this is going to be our data file. Then I'm going to think about, well, how can I use this data file to make reports for? So say I want, like a pie chart graph by customer or something like that. Well, then we can use this data to do that. So maybe I'm concentrating here on the amount, and I want to make a pie graph for it. So I can scroll down. I could say, well, look, I don't really need the totals down here. So I'm going to take the totals and I'm going to remove them. I'm just going to highlight these, the rows. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the formatting in Excel, just to give a quick example of how you can do this. So maybe we'll do more Excel courses later. But then we're going to take this data. Now, I would typically add a table to it. So I would go to the insert and then add a table. And that'll take this data and add a table. And that'll give me my ability to sort information. Often I want to see this information not by customer, but by amount. So maybe I want to take this little drop down and say that we want to sort this information by the amount. So I'm going to go Z to A, because I'd rather see this amount up top, the big amount up top. All right, I want the big one. I want the big number on top. And so then that looks good. So now let's go and just insert a graph. So how easy would it be to insert a graph now? Well, if I was to select then these two columns, let's say I'm going to pick up these two columns and I'll go all the way down, even though there's no numbers down there. I'm going to say insert, and then I want to see a graph, and let's make a pie chart, and just like a standard pie chart. So there we're going to have our standard pie chart that picks up that information. And then you can adjust that information. So we might say, okay, I want to go back over here and maybe add percentages into it. So I'm going to go to the design, and maybe you want something with percentages. So we go in here and say, well, now it's all grouped together. I got percentages, but it's all grouped together. So maybe we could then go into our data and say, I'd like to kind of summarize some of the data down below. So maybe we want to have less categories in our graph, for example. So let's just take the categories down to like here maybe, and then I'm going to highlight all this information. I'm going to say that comes out to the 10,082.38. 10,082.38. So let's do that again. I'm going to highlight all this down to here. I didn't want that one. I'm going to highlight down to here. 10,082.38. So then I'm going to go here. I'm going to say 10,082.38. And then I'm going to remove the data below it. I'll just remove this whole thing. And I'm going to say, let's get rid of that. And then I'm just going to call this other for the categories. I'm going to say other. And then let's go ahead and do this again. So I'm going to highlight this whole thing. And I'm going to remove, actually, let's remove this one. And let's just do the whole thing again. I'm going to insert and then go to the pie chart, and we're going to make a pie chart. So now we have our information with less, less categories. And if I was to add our percentages, now that looks a little bit better. We have some percentages in there that we can actually see, so that's good. We could rename it then if we wanted to name it up top. I moved the name. I could call it sales by customer, and so then we can have our different options there. Now, if I wanted to put this on a different tab, notice I can open up another tab and say that this is going to be sales graphs, possibly. And then I can go back over here and say I want to pick up this graph and maybe put it on a new tab. Maybe I put it on this tab. And so I'm going to say I want my graph right there. And so then I could go back over, and now we've got our graph on the other file. Obviously, we can then pick up another, and note the benefit of that is that now I can print this out. And if I wanted to print this and give it to somebody else or put it on a PDF file, then maybe I want to take this and copy it and then paste it. Remember, you can always paste it as a picture. So I could say that if I wanted to paste it somewhere else, I want to paste it as an image maybe, and that won't be pulling up the data. So then if I wanted to do something with this image, like even crop it, or if I put this on like a black background, now you could take this image and you could basically remove the background if you want by going to the picture format and remove the background. So that might be something that you'd want to do. I'm going to say I want to keep like the wheel here, so I want to keep this, and that looks pretty good, and say, okay, maybe I want to do that, and then maybe I want to take just the key on this side and say I want to copy this and then put this over here, and then I'm going to paste it over here, paste it as a picture. And maybe here I just want the key. So maybe I'm going to go over here and say that now I'm going to take this picture and I just want to see the key. If I can imagine putting this into like a PowerPoint slide, I'm going to say I just want this stuff now. And so I just want that or something like that. And then you can imagine, putting this together and maybe having the key. Maybe you don't need the key as large or something. And, you could put this together, and you can imagine formatting this in a different way with an image type of format if you need to. Or you can have it in the second tab. Also note that if I printed all these tabs together, then I can basically take this tab, and when I want to print it, I can hide the data. So I can right click on this whole tab and just say, just hide that. And now I can print the whole thing, and it'll take up, and it won't print the hidden slide, hopefully, right? And so then I can print this, and I won't have to collate it or anything, and the data won't be there. So I'm going to right click and unhide that so that we can see this if I give you the data file. And so there's that. Obviously, you can make other kind of graphs too. So we can take this and say maybe we want the standard bar graph. We want the standard bar graph over here. So let's go on over and go to the charts and say we'd like the old bar graph. You can go to the recommendations. I was going to do that, but no, I just want the bar graph, not a histogram. What am I doing? A bar graph. How many times do I have to say it to myself? I want a bar graph. All right, so there we have that. And then again, you could put the name of it up top. Maybe you don't need a name of it up top. Something like that. You can change the color scheme of it if you so choose. Different color schemes. And obviously you have a lot of flexibility within Excel. That one's gray. That doesn't seem very nice. Like gray. Anyway, so then we can copy this one back over as well. I can copy this if I so choose and put that on our sheet. So I'm going to right click on this and copy it. And then I'm going to put that on our graphs sheet over here and say we want it somewhere over here maybe. And I can paste it. I can paste it normal. That means it's picking up the data, or I can paste it basically as an image. Then I usually go to the second tab, which is the layout tab, back on over, and that allows me to see if it's fitting on a page. What's fitting on a page here? So maybe I want this one small so it kind of fits on a page up top. So then I did something funny to it there. I'm going to take this, see if I can move this whole thing up. Something like that, right? And then you can have your graphs on the page. So that's just a couple examples of the graph. Obviously, this data, there's endless possibilities with graphs and how you can format them. It's easier to format them in Excel and then put them on their own sheet, or just copy and paste them possibly as an image that you can put them into your PowerPoints, and that way you can kind of take out the background and you can manipulate the data and put the key in a different format, in that format as we've seen as well. So let's go ahead and save this. And then I'm going to print it. I'm going to print it with this one here, but well, let's hide it. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to hide it, and then I'll unhide it after we print it. So then I'm going to go to the File tab. I'm going to say Print, and then we can print the entire workbook. So I'm going to go to Print, or we can print it as it's already collated by going to the key being down here. We want the entire workbook. So we're going to print the entire workbook, and that consists of 18 pages now. We're going to be printed to the Qt PDF printer, and if I scroll through this, let's scroll all the way to the bottom of these 18 pages, because that's where the new stuff is. The new stuff's at the bottom. Here's our graphs, of course. And if I go up, you'll notice that it doesn't show that one page that we hid, which is nice. So we can still have the data file in there and still print the entire thing and not have to go in there and remove, the data file from each of the things that we print, or remove it from the PDF file that we're about to create. So we're going to go ahead and then create the PDF file by selecting Print. Then we've got our 18 pages, and we're going to say, it's going to ask us where do we want to put that, and we're going to be overwriting the financials that we already have. I'm just going to overwrite this document and save that, and then I'll close this back up, and we'll save it, and then I'm going to minimize and minimize and minimize once this shows up. Once it goes through the saving process, I'll minimize and minimize and minimize, and then we have our information here, and I'm going to go into section 2 because that's where we put it, and then there's our financial statements, and there's our financial statements on the PDF format. Now I'm going to open up this Excel one more time and just unhide that cell so that it'll be there, and you can see how to unhide it. And then when we provide this data file to you, if you want to follow along with it, you'll have it as unhidden. So to unhide something, this is a useful technique to have as well. If you get a document that has you suspect there's a hidden tab on the bottom, right click on it, and then you're going to unhide, and then it'll give you a list of those things that are hidden, and you can say, there's a hidden tab, and then you can pick up that hidden tab. So that's going to be it for now. Let's get out of here.